All right, enough with that. Hey guys, how you doing? Welcome to the Tim Black and Night Show, guys. Thank you so much for joining us this evening. I got a special guest tonight. I don't even know if I should call this person a guest because he's been on the show so many times. He's just a dear friend of mine who is doing some miraculous things in the southern Florida, in South Florida, man. And I want to bring him to you today because he has an announcement. You may have heard about it. My friend and yours, ladies and gentlemen, Tim Canova. Give it up for Tim Canova.
Thanks, brother.
You got it, man.
Thank you. It's good to see you, Tim. Thanks for having me on.
Always, Tim. Welcome back to the platform, man. You're looking good, man. Are you getting enough sun in South Florida?
Only in the last few days. It was a tough road for a few months, but turning a corner. Everything's looking much better.
Well, that's great, man. It's great. You know, I'm always eager to bring you on, Tim, because I don't feel so intimidated because we both have the same hairstylist. So
Absolutely. And every now and then when the sun or the light shines on me, I've got a halo, you know? Yeah. So I know my enemies call me the devil, but man, I got a lot of friends who think of me as an angel, right?
That's very true, my brother. And as we were discussing offline, man, you are the hope of many people, and we just want you to know how much we appreciate your candidacy, Tim.
Well, my candidacy relies on my hopes in a lot of people.
Well, really? Hey, touche, man. What a way to put it. Very smooth. Very smooth. Good point, folks. This can't be done without you. So, Tim, I heard you got some news, some updates to your campaign, brother. That's kind of making the buzz, brother. What's going on, Tim?
Well, on Monday we made a big announcement, and I made it in front of the Broward County Supervisor of Elections office. We chose that spot because the Broward County Supervisor of Elections happened to have destroyed all of the paper ballots from our 2016 primary in violation of federal law, state law, court orders. It's really a shameful disgrace, but par for the course when it comes to anything dealing with Debbie Wasserman Schultz. You know, we were seeking justice and truth in this ballot inspection, and instead we got destroyed ballots. We tried to get the Democratic Party of Broward County and Miami-Dade and Florida to speak out and call for an investigation. And they remained so silent. I said the silence was deafening. And look, I've been trying for the past almost 2.5 years to change this party and to bring political change to South Florida through the Democratic Party. And I finally reached a point where it became clear that the only real path forward to keep speaking truth and to try to bring about that change was to change my party affiliation from Democrat to no party affiliation and to run as an independent. And that's what I announced on Monday, that I'm running against Debbie Wasserman Schultz as an independent. I will be on the ballot in November in a general election against her.
Wow. You know, Tim, that is something first of all, I want to thank you for sticking in there and for making the decision to go ahead, to go the direction that you're going. A lot of people have been talking to me about that. They've been whispering that for months about how big an uphill battle it is to run in the Democratic Party and get a fair shake, my brother.
Right.
What's been the response since you made this announcement?
Almost uniformly positive. And overwhelmingly so among grassroots all over this country and around the state and in this district. People are very excited about it. And yet not to be surprised among the mainstream corporate-owned media, you know, a lot of throwing cold water on it. But I pretty much have stopped reading their critiques very closely a long time ago. These newspaper chains, these are national. They take their marching orders from 1,000 miles away from corporate headquarters. They pick and choose, a couple of quotes from a 40-minute speech and put it out of context and try to make you look bad. We're just staying focused on our message, and we've got the truth on our side, and we got the people on our side. And hopefully this time around, we're going to make sure we protect the vote. protect the ballot count, and make sure that nothing shady happens.
Yeah, it's almost like this is I know it was a tough decision. At least I'm assuming it was a tough decision. But based on their track record in Broward County specifically, brother, you couldn't get a fair shake there if you wanted to stay as a Democrat, could you?
That's really what it comes down to. You know, I registered as a Democrat when I turned 18, when I first registered to vote. When I was right out of college, I got a job on Capitol Hill as a legislative aide to the late U.S. Senator Paul Tsongas, a Democrat. My political idols are Franklin Roosevelt and John Kennedy. New Deal progressive politics. It was painful to move away from this. I'll say that in 2012, I re-registered as independent then, as a non-party affiliation then, even though I voted for Barack Obama's re-election. And I changed my party affiliation in 2015 back to Democrat and decided to run against the head of the Democratic National Committee. And we gave it one hell of a ride, and we worked real hard. It does pain me. It did pain me to re-register as a non-party and to run as an independent. But we're not getting a fair shake here. And it's everything from the counting of ballots to the more mundane, when you show up at a Democratic Party club or committee meeting or caucus meeting, and they try to find reasons not to let me take the stage and say hello and introduce myself. Just last week, I was at a local Democratic club where the rank and file like me, but the leadership, very much in Wasserman Schultz's pocket. And they allowed one of Wasserman Schultz's aides 5 or 10 minutes to speak. They never allowed me to get up and speak. They barely introduced me. And they said afterwards it was because I didn't bring a cake to the party. I bought a table for the luncheon, but I didn't bring a cake. Wasserman Schultz had. I mean, it borders on ridiculous. There's a party that's fine with Wasserman Schultz avoiding debates, taking big corporate money, and yet the party leadership, I'm talking about the chair of the Broward Party, right on up, they have no problem in openly speaking highly of Wasserman Schultz and denigrating my campaign, of taking sides in violation of their own neutrality rules and promises. So under those circumstances, facing the possibility of an August primary where the same supervisor of elections who destroyed my ballots might still be the supervisor, I thought, well, that's intolerable. Let's be on the ballot in November. It gives the governor a couple more months or some weeks to fire the supervisor of elections if an investigation says it's warranted. Quite frankly, I don't see how it's not warranted at this point. We released a 4-minute video. If you go to timcanova.com, this 4-minute video explains the ballot destruction case, and it actually has clips of the supervisor of elections in her videotape deposition, in which she, one, admits that she destroyed the ballots in violation of federal law. Number two, she says it was just a mistake. Number three, she admits that she signed the destruction order, which certified that the ballots were not the subject of pending litigation, even though it was. She was the named defendant. And fourth, she says she signed the order because she just signs anything put in front of her face. She didn't read it. It defies comprehension. So why put ourselves through this? I felt I owed it to all of those supporters who donated an average of $17 last time. And we're talking about over 200,000 times somebody donated to our campaign. I owed it to them to seek to inspect the ballots, just to verify the vote, either to confirm that the ballot count, the official count was correct and put it to rest, or to find out if something wrong happened. And likewise, I feel a real responsibility to our supporters not to just be in an abusive relationship where the party takes us for granted, kicks us, robs us, steals us, and then tells us, honey, you got nowhere else to go. You got to stay with us. Enough of that already. And I think people are hungering for change. 60 to 70% of these millennials and younger are non-party affiliation. They're independent. It's time to start engaging all the voters. And this is what I said on Monday at my announcement, that instead of speaking only within the parameters of what's considered polite political discussion among establishment Democrats who turn out in closed primaries, we are going to be going after Democrats, Republicans, independents, Greens, libertarians, vegetarians, pescatarians, Kiwanis, you name it, Rotarians, everybody. Everybody. I'm all for open primaries. I know there's a lot of criticism of the way they might be playing out in certain jurisdictions, like in California. But, when you're in a closed primary state like Florida, where they hide those primaries at the end of August and they have tiny, low turnouts, you realize that it just stacks the deck in favor of incumbents.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Tim, you said so much there. You were such on a roll. I didn't want to interrupt at all. One of the things that really ticks me off about it, Tim, is that you pretty much would agree that you are a lifetime Democrat. No one's looking. The people that would discredit you and say, "Oh, Tim Canova's pouting," those people. Why don't they show any empathy or any recognition that you had to leave your party in order to get a fair shake? What does that say about the Democratic Party? That's the thing. There is no self-reflection. There is no taking stock of where the party sits, how those who have dedicated their lives, those who have been loyal to the party, how what their outlook is on the party. Instead, it's this pointing fingers, and it's the delegitimization of actual feelings that not only candidates have, but voters have, that really ticks me off, Tim.
That's true. I mean, they can attack the messenger. They can attack me. They're also attacking voters. And look how well that worked for Hillary Clinton, to be calling people deplorable and then expecting them to vote for you. The injury that was done to me in the destruction of the ballots was not just an injury to me. It was an injury to all the voters, really. When you're not able to verify the vote, it undermines public confidence and faith in the outcome. I keep bringing up a lot of the rigging that occurred against Bernie Sanders during the presidential campaign, and happened in a lot of different states in a lot of different ways. But one example that's very instructive was New York City, where the Board of Elections last October admitted in a civil consent decree that they had purged over 200,000 citizens from their voting rolls in the days leading up to their presidential primary. And Tim, they promised they'll never do it again. And that's it. Let bygones be bygones. It just won't ever happen again, they promised. If you don't have real criminal investigations and prosecutions, it will happen again. And when people complain that it happened, you can't criticize them.
Right.
It's like blaming the victim. It's if you either believe in democracy and in fair voting counts and take it seriously, or you're really just a lot of lip service, and that's a lot of my critics, and I don't listen to them very much anymore.
Well, you definitely shouldn't listen to them. As you were explaining the crisis of democracy that they have in Florida, and I forget the name of the lady who's
Dr. Brenda Snipes, the supervisor of elections at Broward. Yeah.
And I just want to applaud the fact that you are willing to stand up to this, because I have been reticent to call out Bernie Sanders for not doing what you're doing now, and I'm not looking for you to comment on it unless you want to. It's just that
Bernie's got a whole lot of different carrots and sticks in front of him, and I don't want to criticize him. I'm not in his shoes, and none of us are. At the end of the day, I do believe that he was robbed, cheated, and stolen from. I think his campaign was. I think his supporters were cheated. But at the end of the day, he wakes up in the morning and he's a U.S. senator with tremendous responsibilities. And he must have made certain calculations, and that he had to stay focused on positive agenda moving forward. And I don't blame him for that. But I do think it's incumbent upon all of us who are not in that kind of a position to keep fighting and not to let it get swept under the rug. Because, again, if you allow that kind of election rigging to get swept under the rug, it creates a moral hazard. It creates incentives for it to keep occurring in the future.
But I agree with you, Tim, that he is in a different position, and I'm not here to try to, Monday morning quarterback or whatever. But I would like to say that I recognize that there needs to be brought to light. But you recognize here also that, look, you brought it to light, Tim. You shined a big light on it, and Miss Snipes, she even admits, yeah, I did this, and nothing has changed. So to those people that criticize Bernie, they say, Bernie should have spoke up. And I agree, I wish he would have spoke up. But there's no guarantee that much would have changed either, other than him losing some of his status within the Senate. That's
absolutely true, Tim. And you know something? We discovered that the ballots were destroyed last November. And I didn't sit on that news. I've got very good lawyers. And they wanted me to sort of sit on the news. They didn't want to somehow complicate the legal case by me going public with it. And I said, no, this is a public concern. And I'm not going to help suppress this kind of news even a single day. So we went public with it last November. All those people who might be critical of me for running independent and leaving the party, where have they been since last November? Have they spoken out for an investigation? Have they said, you know something? Those ballots were destroyed. That's wrong. We got to look into it. No, everyone wants to just sweep it under the rug. And what's the most convenient way to sweep it under the rug? To just say Donald Trump 1,000 times and Vladimir Putin 500 times. And that's the mantra so that we can forget about illegal ballot destruction? Are you kidding me?
Absolutely. And bring up a mistress that Donald Trump had, a relationship he had, allegedly had 7-8 years ago before he took office. Let's run that, and let's talk more about Roseanne's sitcom and anything else we can to distract us from real issues. It's just, independent media. What platforms brought you on to talk about it? I know that you've been on various independent media sites, but
right. So Jimmy Dore had me on Fox News. Steve Hilton, The Next Revolution. He had me on a couple of times, and once specifically to talk about the ballot destruction. It's very limited. You don't see.
No, I didn't hear you mention MSNBC, Tim.
Yeah, exactly. You don't see them on. No. This is the problem. Like what has changed since 2016 when MSNBC and CNN were giving billions of dollars of free airtime to Donald Trump, and somehow that's less significant than 13 bots in Russia, purported bots, right?
Right.
Come on.
Absolutely. Yeah. You have them tell it, I'm a Russian bot. And
so I know. There's a House committee. The majority staff issued a report claiming that the Kremlin has co-opted the environmental movement. And among the evidence was some purported Russian bot retweeted one of my tweets in which I praised the Miami-Dade County Commission for passing a resolution to ban fracking. This is McCarthyism. It truly is. It's shameful. It's disgraceful.
So someone retweeting you.
Yes.
Okay.
And that's evidence that I've been co-opted by the Kremlin.
God. So what are you supposed to jump into the computer and be able to stop people from retweeting your tweets?
Exactly.
It's bad enough that they try to hold us responsible for who we retweet, as if we have investigators to track down people's identities and verify people before we retweet. But that's beyond. That's totally absurd for them to hold you accountable for who retweets you. It makes no damn sense, Tim. There's been, I've noticed a couple of candidates who are going the same route, Tim. Tamborine Borelli, she's running in Seattle, Washington, and she's a powerful progressive, decided that she needs to run independent for the same reasons, Tim.
And I saw Gail McLaughlin for Lieutenant Governor of California, and she was a very good mayor of Richmond. I know. And, I'm not out there saying everybody's got to go independent and exit the party. I know personally, some progressives who are running in Democratic primaries right here in South Florida. They've had to make very calculated decisions whether they stay in as Democrats or follow my lead and go independent. And I've said all along, I said this for the last 2 years, that the important thing is that progressives stand up and start challenging these incumbents, whether it's within the party or outside the party. And that we all as a grassroots movement have to come together and support those candidates when they do that. It seemed to make sense to me the last time around to run as a Democrat. It certainly We got the support of so many people. We ran a great campaign. Our internal field numbers showed a far different result. And, I don't think that was a bad decision to go that way. Had I beaten Wasserman Schultz in a primary, it's a heavily Democratic district. There wouldn't have been much of a general election. But times are changing. People are more and more fed up with the shenanigans of the past in this party, and especially Wasserman Schultz is the epitome of all of this underhanded dealing.
Absolutely, Tim. Absolutely, there. You know where I stand on this, Tim, and I think I speak for a majority of people in the progressive community when we say that Debbie Wasserman Schultz seems to epitomize what we despise within the Democratic Party, which are these figureheads who are actually dragging the party down and moving the party further to the right. For those who may not know, Tim, I just want to make sure that they understand what your platform is about and why this is so relevant. If you could run off a couple of your cornerstones or platform points.
I appreciate it. And folks can go to our website at timcanova.com. They can check out the issues page. It's very detailed issues that we have. They're not just 2 or 3 lines. They're very well thought out issues. Now, front and center, of course, is election integrity. I'd like to see us move to 100% paper ballots counted by hand in public and reported at the local precinct level on election night, the way it was done pretty much for 200 years in this country. The electronic voting machines are too easily manipulated, the software, or can even be hacked. So we have to move for election integrity. This country can afford, the federal government gives trillions of dollars in subsidies to corporate America. The federal government could afford a few $1 billion to pay ordinary Americans around the country to actually count ballots on election night to make sure we have transparent and verifiable elections. Number 2, we need publicly financed elections. We have to overturn Citizens United, constitutional amendment, or even legislation by Congress that includes a provision that strips the Supreme Court of appellate jurisdiction. It's in Article 3, Section 2. Congress has that power to do that when the court runs off the track the way it has with Citizens United. Now, beyond that, we are for Medicare for all, jobs for all, a real New Deal type of an agenda. I am so sick and tired of hearing these official unemployment rates and giving them any kind of respect. 4.5% unemployment? No way. There's millions of people who have dropped out of the labor force, discouraged workers, people who are working 2, 3 part-time jobs as consultants or self-employed who would love a full-time job and can't find one, people with advanced degrees who are driving for Uber. This is a sick economy for 98% of the people in this country. It works real well for those at the top. We need much more progressive taxation. We need a Federal Reserve that works for Main Street the way it has for Wall Street. I'm a law professor. I've been studying the Federal Reserve for years. In 2011, Senator Bernie Sanders appointed me to an advisory committee on reforming the Federal Reserve with people like Joe Stiglitz and James Galbraith and Robert Reich. We need to end the drug war. This is mass incarceration. It's the new Jim Crow. We need to have a program that will, for schools, for jobs, for K-12 education. It is shameful what's happening right here in my district, and it's happening all over the country. The public sector, and especially K-12 schools, are being strangled. This fiscal austerity is weakening them, and it's opening them up for privatization for the charter school industry. I went to public schools, K-12. I went to great public schools. This is not rocket science. These are problems that can be solved by putting money into them. We should pay our school teachers much more, make sure they're very good school teachers, have a lot more of them and smaller class sizes. That would go a long way to fixing these schools. Right here in Broward County, we have a mold problem in the classroom, and it's a serious one where it's been reported in the mainstream press, even hundreds of students and teachers and staff being sickened every week by mold in the classrooms. The Broward voters several years ago voted an $800 million bond to fix up the schools, the physical infrastructure, and the school board has hardly spent any of that money. So what, are they in the pocket of the charter school industry? I hear this stuff all over the country. We shouldn't be privatizing water systems. We shouldn't be privatizing transportation systems. We need a public sector that is well funded. That's what the New Deal was all about. So I'm way against this Washington, Wall Street consensus, neoliberal model, whatever you want to call it. We need a public sector that works for the American people.
Wow. Wow. You know, I've been closely following the union strikes, the teacher union strikes across the country, Kentucky, Oklahoma, West Virginia. Are teachers thinking about striking in Florida? Is that an issue that's on the table there?
I've spoken to some who are talking about it, and they talk about it in very hushed, like almost whispers. There's a lot of fear. I mean, this is not a pro-union state, you can say, as far as the law of the land in this state. There's a lot that these teachers risk by going on strike, but they do in West Virginia and Oklahoma as well. You just wonder, when will they get to a boiling point or a breaking point where they are actually going to go out on strike? I have been standing with those public school teachers the whole time, especially on those mold issues and the issues of teacher pay, at a time when the superintendent of Broward's public schools just got a $28,000 pay raise to $335,000 a year annual salary. And it's justified by his supporters as it has to be on par with what the superintendent of schools makes in Miami-Dade and Palm Beach counties. But, then you compare it to what a Broward school teacher makes on average, like something like $41,000 a year. And, this is not a low cost area to live in. So, this is a society, a system that is completely upside down. All the wealth and power is in the hands of very few, while the rest of us, this is not the way democracy is supposed to work. Some of the other issues I should mention, the environment's a big one here. We got rising sea levels. This is ground zero for that in South Florida. And we need 100% off of fossil fuels. I support Congresswoman Tulsi Gabbard's OFF Act to get off of fossil fuels real fast. We have been fighting Florida Power and Light, NextEra. We've been pushing for solar energy, and we're making very powerful enemies in the course of this. But it's the right thing to do, and the people are on our side. The corporate interests, I'll say this, in 2016, they spent tens of millions of dollars against a referendum on solar energy. And yet the people of the state voted over 70% for that solar energy referendum. The same thing with medicinal marijuana. All the big pharma companies spent a lot of money against it, but the people voted for it. On issue after issue, not just in Florida, but across this country, the people are for a progressive agenda. It's been overdue for years, even before that financial collapse. The problem is the political establishment that is owned by corporate America, big corporate interests.
Wow. When I hear environment, you educated me to the aquifer and the challenges there in Florida, and you introduced me to the issues of big sugar.
Yes.
We've been talking for quite some time. These issues that I wasn't aware of, and I don't think many Americans who live, on this side of the country even know what's going on environmentally in Florida and other places nearby. Has there been any movement? Has the consciousness level of the citizens raised regarding the aquifer?
Absolutely. Among the citizens, the problem is the political class. In Tallahassee, they've been very slow in responding to what the citizens want. Again, Florida is really quite a state. It's an interesting place because it does seem to be like the canary in the coal mine on so many different issues. But those problems are everywhere in this country now. The EPA and the Natural Resources Defense Council, they've issued reports saying that a majority of people in this country are now at peril for drinking contaminated water. We are polluting things everywhere, not just in South Florida. So this is, and I really think this young generation has gotten fed up with it. That's where my hopes are. The more politically active they get. And, you see them stepping up with all of the school shootings, but it goes way before that. Occupy Wall Street, the Bernie Sanders campaign, the anti-TPP campaign, a lot of young folks fueled this. And times are tough for everybody at every age at this point. I've been saying this, 18 to 34-year-olds more likely to be living at home with their parents than starting living on their own. But baby boomers, they've seen their retirement savings destroyed by the financial collapse. They are at risk of age discrimination. We don't like to talk about it. But when folks turn 50, suddenly they have, they're expendable. The employers can hire somebody half their age for half the price, and, the health insurance premiums are lower and all of that. So it's an unforgiving economy. If you make one kind of career mistake, you pay for it for the rest of your life, it seems. And, this is a wealthy country. We should be able to afford to take care of our own people, and we're not doing that. And then I should say, finally, a big part of our agenda is an agenda for peace. A lot of folks, it's like out of sight, out of mind. They don't realize that this country was fighting, 7 drone wars every day during the Obama administration. Those drone wars are only being expanded under Trump now into other parts of Africa, actually. We seem to want to fund every side of every war. And the military-industrial intelligence complex that Eisenhower warned of, now it's on steroids. And, we need an agenda for arms control. When I was growing up, there was that kind of an agenda. There was this recognition that, okay, we were in a Cold War against an evil empire. That's what Reagan called it, the Soviet Union. But even though he's calling it the evil empire, and I think it really was, a one-party totalitarian state, you can make the argument you don't really want to encourage that. But even though you see the enemy in those terms, you realize that we have a common humanity. You need arms control. You don't want things to go from Cold War to hot war. Not anymore. At this point, we have $100 billion arms sales to the Saudis. We're arming every side of every war in the Middle East. It's a perpetual bloodshed, and it's got to stop. And, so those are sort of the main themes of our campaign. And to put some meat on the bones, folks can, again, go to timcanova.com and check out the issues pages. And while you're there, throw a few dollars at us and spread the word to others to help fund our grassroots campaign.
Absolutely, guys. If you heard what Tim said, and it strikes a chord with you as far as the issues, where he stands on the issues, I want to implore you guys to go to timcanova.com and contribute to his campaign for many reasons. One of the reasons is I was reading an article, I think it was by the Daily Beast, it could have been Slate, and they were, or The Hill, no, it was The Hill actually, and it was saying how much money, comparing the amount of money you've been able to raise so far to the last election.
Oh, yeah.
And they were making a big to-do about that. And I don't know if those numbers were accurate or not, but I do know they were sort of rubbing that in your face, Tim. So sure. We want to make sure we get the word out. If you like what Tim Canova stands for, if you believe that he deserves a fair shake, that Florida deserves better representation that actually represents the people, not the corporations, not Big Sugar, and not the payday loan shark bastards that Debbie Wasserman Schultz is in bed with. If you believe that they deserve better representation, you should go do that today.
Yeah. And Tim, I'll say we did raise a tremendous amount of money the last time, and it's been very tough to raise money this election cycle. And it's that way for all grassroots candidates right now. It's suddenly going independent. We see a nice uptick in the contributions, which is great. But I'll say the money we spent in 2016 has raised not just my name recognition, the visibility of the campaign. We came out of it with a list of hundreds of volunteers in this district in just 4 towns, Hollywood, Hallandale, Dania Beach, and Aventura. We did a quick search. We had over 400 names of people who volunteered for us, and that's only a fraction of the district. So this is truly a people power campaign. Now we need money to organize all those volunteers, to provide them with drinking water, to go door to door, all the kinds of nuts and bolts of a real grassroots door to door campaign. We do need small donations. There's no doubt about it. I just don't want folks to get pessimistic because, 2 years ago, we raised $3.8 million, and right now we're not raising that kind of money. When Eric Cantor was defeated by a college professor named David Bratt, Eric Cantor outspent him $5 million to $300,000. Okay? So we don't necessarily need to raise the kind of money we did last time, but we certainly are in need of resources. And I beg everybody, step forward, do what you can to help us. I've been putting my life savings into this campaign. Lots of people are putting their sweat equity into it. If we can take down Wasserman Schultz, oh my God, how great we will all feel about accomplishing something like that, and the kind of doors that will open for other candidates as a result.
Absolutely. And not to mention, of course, during the general election year, there's always heightened awareness to politics at that time. So that's another reason why they would be.
Well, right. Last time it was a presidential election. Absolutely. Yeah. And Wasserman Schultz was, top of the news all the time for her dastardly deeds. Now she kind of goes underneath the radar, yeah. And it's not hurting her fundraising because her fundraising is corporate America. She's raising money from these corporate funded political action committees and super PACs.
It would definitely be sweet, Tim, to have her actually have to debate you at a time that wasn't Sunday morning at 7 a.m.
Well, and Tim, I'm glad you brought that up. Running as an independent in a general election will make it that much more difficult for her to avoid a debate. It truly will. There'll be a Republican in the race, a Republican who will have all the incentive to throw a lot of resources against her and to bring up a lot of the scandals that the mainstream media does not want to talk about. That have been surrounding her for a long time. And it'll be that much more difficult for her to avoid a debate. If she avoids debates, then, I'll be in debates against a Republican opponent. I truly believe that we are going to win this race and that Wasserman Schultz might come in third out of 3 candidates. When people say, well, how could you run as an independent? You risk losing a seat to the Republicans. No, we risk losing, as of now, we risk losing the seat to a Republican if people vote for Debbie Wasserman Schultz.
Oh, my goodness. Ow. I love it. That's what I'm talking about. I was thinking the same thing, the exact same thing. She is Republican light, and she may even be more Republican than the Republican that is going to be challenging her or who challenged her last election cycle. Tim, I tell you, man, I got you. I got your back on this. I just wonder what it's going to take for people to really wake up to Debbie Wasserman. I'm wondering what's up with people in Florida. Why are they so committed to? Well, I see nothing. I see no redeeming qualities. What's the redeeming quality, Tim? She's not a great orator. She's not charismatic. She doesn't get things done for the people. What is it about Debbie Wasserman?
I'll say this. First of all, our internal numbers showed a far different result. So I don't believe she's very popular with most of the people of her district or South Florida. She does maintain a control over the party establishment. A lot of it is her corporate ties. She rules by fear. People who are loyal to her don't love her, most of them. They fear her. And that's the source of her power, is the corporate money behind her.
Her proximity to power, her influence with Hillary Clinton and the Clinton leg of the Democratic Party, I would guess, and those ties in the media. Who my friends Jeff Miami Gator, Jeff Campbell, Peter Hager,
yes,
the whole
absolutely.
crew, Elijah Manley, who have definitely they keep me up to date on what's going on in Florida.
You just mentioned 3 righteous people, and they work real hard. And they are part of this political revolution. And, I do think by challenging Wasserman Schultz in 2016 when she was the head of the DNC, we all remember this was the epicenter of the political revolution for a while. And I think by going independent now, it's once again, South Florida and this congressional district are going to be the crossroads of this political revolution again.
I believe it as well, Tim. Look, guys, instead of asking why Tim Canova had to go independent or why would he have the audacity to cross a party line, ask why does he feel the need, the necessity of doing that? That should be the question that people are asking themselves.
You're absolutely right. And I've said this. The party left me before I left the party. The party was keeping progressive insurgent challengers down. If the Democratic Party can't embrace democracy within its own ranks, it has turned on the people.
If you can't keep your seat, if you can't be open to debate, if you can't run on your record, you don't deserve to have your seat.
Well, that's right. And Tim, actually, I got to tell you, just a couple hours ago, I went to a Hollywood Democratic Club meeting, even though I'm now an independent. And still, I went there. This is a club that's been very much in my corner in the past. And who showed up? But Debbie Wasserman Schultz herself. She spoke for 10 minutes. Half of it was about Donald Trump, and she left without taking a single question. And that has always been what people tell me about Wasserman Schultz. She's imperial. She doesn't feel that she needs to actually take questions from anyone. She's above that. This is the problem in Washington. They're public officials who feel that they don't have to be held accountable and actually have to answer questions from constituents. Instead, every time Wasserman shows up in the district, it's a very choreographed event, if there are any questions at all.
Oh, so she's above the people in Florida and the issues that affect their everyday lives, that she can just be above it all, above the fray, so to speak, and talk about Donald Trump as if she is, truly a Washington insider.
That's right. Absolutely.
Despicable.
And look, we can and we will take her down. It's going to require a lot of folks stepping up and making small contributions to the campaign from all over the country, going to timcanova.com for that. And it's going to take a lot of folks side by side, shoulder by shoulder with me here in the district, knocking on doors and speaking truth to power. We did it last time, and it's very suspicious whether the results were accurate last time. It was a big learning experience. I think the establishment knows full well that if they mess with our vote this time, we will be bringing a lawsuit from day one. We are going to challenge and make sure that everything is on the up and up.
Amazing. Amazing. I just want to mention one more time, Jeff Campbell, Peter Hager, Stephanie Myers, Nico House, Mikasa Sukasa, Elijah Manley, the whole crew out there in Florida, guys. I love you. I can't wait to come out and see you guys in Florida. And to
come down here soon and campaign with us and cover the race. You just mentioned really a great crew. Yeah. Love them all.
Yeah, I feel like Florida is my home that I haven't been to yet, but it's a home away from home. It feels that way already. Guys, go to timcanova.com. Find out what you can do. Become a part of it. The political revolution, it won't be televised, but it will damn sure be fought in Florida with Tim Canova. Thank you, Tim, for your time, sir.
Thank you, Tim. I appreciate it. Love you. You take care.
You got it, brother. Same to you. All right, guys, that's it. Thank you for joining us tonight. Great show, as always. Don't forget timcanova.com. If you want to give money to this show tonight, don't do it. Go to timcanova.com. Kick it his way. We got to win in Florida and take it back for the people. Peace.